There are 7.5 billion people who are now living on the planet Earth. By the way, 21% of those live in China. Think about that. 7.5 billion people and 21% of them live in China. Now, you know how many of those 7.5 billion people have cell phones? 5 billion. That's a market, huh? That's a market. Now, how many of those have the expectation that their phones come with a certain amount of privacy, a certain amount of security?
It looks like a naval radar scanning for enemy ships. The Deadbeat map is an add-on to the Chinese social media platform WeChat. It allows users to pinpoint the location of those who have failed to pay their debts within a 500-meter radius. This naming and shaming app essentially is China's latest tool to monitor the behavior of its citizens and to pretty much distinguish between those who are trustworthy and those who are disobedient. It's pretty terrifying. Tell us more about this app.
Well, as you mentioned, this is part of China's social credit system, which is reportedly going to be mandatory by 2020.
Be so happy that they won't protest, they will never criticize the government and all that sort of stuff. But the trade-off is your privacy.
Yes.
You know, maybe that's a gamble that's worth it. Mm-hmm. Maybe people really don't appreciate their privacy all that much. I mean, look at us here, right? Yeah. We've been handing over our privacy to private companies for years now. So, I mean, is that likely to work? Do people not care that much about their privacy?
Well, listen, if people here are willing to hand over all of our privacy, much of our privacy, in exchange for commercial and material efficiency, what's to say that 1.4 billion people in China wouldn't give over their privacy for governing efficiency? So when we talk about how China is trying to become an AI superpower in the 21st century, that's about controlling an industry that has global implications.
The quest for artificial intelligence began more than 80 years ago.
I can perform 36 distinct acts.
The idea was that computer technology would one day be powerful enough to carry out tasks better and more efficiently than humans.
We've got to actually say hello to it.
Today, AI has come of age. It's already having an impact on many parts of human life, from self-driving cars to finding soulmates. But perhaps its greatest impact will be on medicine and the way we monitor human health. Dr. Eric Topol is one of the most influential doctors in digital medicine. The pioneering American cardiologist has helped develop drugs that have saved countless lives. He's now at the forefront of the AI revolution in healthcare. These are his prescriptions for transforming the future of human health.
The overarching goal is to bring back the humanity. If we do this right, we can rescue the problems of healthcare.
The doctor-patient relationship is a founding principle of healthcare and medicine.
The first step is to eliminate keyboards and computer screens in clinical encounters.
Some doctors in the West can spend up to twice as many hours on medical paperwork than with their patients.
In the years ahead, we should be able to eliminate the data clerk functions of clinicians. These are mutually hated as much by patients as by doctors and clinicians.
AI tools, such as speech recognition technology, that are now commonplace in homes, could be used in clinical settings for capturing data and notes, allowing doctors to concentrate on people.
Artificial intelligence and roughly 200 million surveillance cameras. And that's totally fine with Ouyang Haoyu. She's 21, graduated from a good school with solid grades. She's diligent. She's nice. No surprise, she's a 752. That's her rating with Sesame Credit, a private company working with the government on the algorithms for the social credit system. The scores go from 350 to 950 and are based on habits and behavior. Buy clothes or diapers, it's good. A lot of alcohol, too many video games, not so good. Haoyu's 752 puts her in model citizen range and gets her discounts and privileges, like using a shared bike without a deposit. She likes it. Her friends do too. They all have pretty high scores.
It's a mechanism like pushes you to become a better citizen, to build on the trust, especially on the Chinese market.
Because you're not going to be punished if you haven't done anything wrong.
I think that's the point. I think the system is working as a warning or an alert to push people to do it, to be a good person.
What's the latest that you're finding?
Sure. So a group of researchers found this new vulnerability in 5G protocol. This allows third parties to steal private information from the 5G airwaves.
As a warning or an alert to push people to do it, to be a good person.
And it's mandatory. When it goes national, social credit scores will be assigned to every one of China's citizens for life. And what's weird is that so many people seem okay with it.
This naming and shaming app essentially is China's latest tool to monitor the behavior of its citizens and to pretty much distinguish between those who are trustworthy and those who are disobedient. It's pretty terrifying. Tell us more about this app.
Well, as you mentioned, this is part of China's social credit system, which is reportedly going to be mandatory by 2020. So this is a measure by the local province Hebei to, as we also mentioned, to know if there are people within 500 meters radius who are in debt. And the objective of the system is essentially to monitor these debtors and also to alert authorities, so users can alert authorities if these debtors or some of these debtors seem capable of paying their debts. And this again points to this social credit system, which is all about judging the trustworthiness of the people. So for example, your credits, you can have more credits or less credits depending on your ability to, say, repay the loans, or even simple things like behavior on a bus. So this is taken into account.
I want to ask you about quantum computing, because you had a big announcement about IBM putting forth the first system to work on quantum. Now, actually having full-blown quantum computing for business, still years away, but this is an important milestone, and IBM has been doing more work on this than most other companies, arguably any other company.
It's not just that knowledge is growing, but it's begun to grow at a rate unparalleled in the history of the world. So that knowledge doubled once every 100 years until 1950 or World War II, well, knowledge began to double every 25 years. And then today we say the doubling of knowledge in the world happens every 13 months. But if you think that's a lot to swallow, the greatest challenge that we face today with this increase of knowledge and information is how to manage and use an ever-sized mountain of data.
Now tell us, what is quantum computing?
Well, very few people know that we are reaching the point where we can no longer make faster computers using the technology that we're using today.
This year, IBM began to help us take that first step in producing the first commercially viable quantum computer. Now, what is a quantum computer? Well, I don't know what's going to cost. They just profiled it just about a month ago, and it's an amazing 20 by 20 box. But the fact is, it's going to be probably in the range of billions of dollars. But the value of this piece of equipment, which is so necessary, is its ability to basically atomically process information rather than rely upon silicon chip-based computers.
Guys, what will quantum computing help us do that we cannot do today?
Well, basically what we will be able to do is operations that today take us, let's say, hours or days, we can do it in a blink of a second.
It has the ability to take massive amounts of data and crunch them and sort them according to the algorithms that are written to get the information that you want. So that for the first time we have a computer-based system that can actually process all the data that needs to be able to be processed for this kind of system to come into place.
We're going to basically lay out the needed steps for organizations, government, NGOs,
IBM
whatever.
Security has invested independent research and development.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, well,
IBM, Google, Microsoft, everybody's after the technology.
Well, we look forward to following this as it evolves.
Now, Not only is the quantum thousands of times faster than a silicon-based computer, but it's absolutely necessary for creating the Internet of Things.
Miami is going 5G and fast. The city is undergoing a telecom transformation, with these 5G poles and infrastructure being added every couple hundred feet in downtown Miami, Miami Beach, and Little Havana. Basically, all the tourist spots. AT&T and Verizon have been leading the charge in installing the 5G networks in anticipation of Super Bowl 54 February 2nd at the Hard Rock Stadium in Miami. The 5G technology is supposed to add faster and clearer wireless connection and communication, but it's also causing a mess in many areas, with spray-painted markings at intersections, chewed-up sidewalks, and in some parts of the city, unfinished work. This is the corner of Southwest 8th Street and 2nd Avenue in the downtown Brickell area of Miami, where they just recently put up a 5G pole, as you can see there. And here on the sidewalk, there's still all the markings of where they were laying the infrastructure. There's even also some of the sidewalk that's still laying kind of in shambles off to the side. Well, on a good day, this is one of the busiest intersections in the Miami area. When they were doing the work here, traffic was snarled and backed up for hours at a time. One of the worst days was November 8th, when contractors accidentally cut a water line. Miami-Dade Commissioner Eileen Higgins, who's been critical of the 5G work, tweeted this about it: "Geez, another telecom contractor cuts county infrastructure. In June, one cut through the sewer main line in Miami Beach, spilling 750,000 gallons of sewage. Now, one cut through the water main and electrical wires on 8th Street in Brickell, flooding streets and snarling traffic for 24+ hours. Just down the road on 8th Street in Brickell, we found this 5G pole with its cable lines dangling and what looked like unfinished work. Just around the corner on 7th Street, we found all these markings in what was either previously done work or an upcoming project. We reached out to Commissioner Higgins for comment. She declined our request. For now, tourists and locals alike will just have to deal with the sidewalk markings, dangling wires, and chewed-up concrete as Miami gears up for the Super Bowl and its future of 5G technology."
As much by patients as by doctors and clinicians.
AI tools, such as speech recognition technology, that are now commonplace in homes, could be used in clinical settings for capturing data and notes, allowing doctors to concentrate on people.
We have a problem with accuracy and efficiency.
Trained on a huge resource of medical data, the power of AI learning can read some images more accurately than humans.
Whether it's a pattern like a scan or a slide or prediction, AI can really rev up the accuracy, and that is important for a better diagnosis, better treatments, better outcomes, lower costs.
Powerful machines can interpret scans 150 times faster than radiologists and can work 24 hours a day. AI can even suggest a diagnosis.
Many conditions could be AI diagnosed. And so the time that a doctor comes into play is very specific to important diagnoses.
Data is critical for improving our understanding of disease and illness. The more we understand, the better the chances of preventing, diagnosing, and curing. But currently, only about 5% of medical data is used effectively.
We had a problem with generating so much data, terabytes of data for each person, but we didn't have a way to analyze it. We didn't have a way to extract the juice, the distillate of this. Now we do, and that's what artificial intelligence is really about.
Harnessed to wireless devices, AI could oversee every facet of people's health data.
5G technology is being sold as the future. It will let you surf the web and download content faster than ever. But there's just one problem. Scientists and medical professionals are petitioning against a 5G network rollout, claiming the health and environmental concerns. RT's Ashley Banks explains.
There's a lot of excitement surrounding 5G technology. 5G is capable of providing broadband speeds over 100 times faster than current data speeds. That sounds pretty impressive, yet some have serious concerns. Many activists are saying the rollout of 5G is a massive health experiment, which could become a global catastrophe. Author Robert Furstenberg, a well-known advocate for stopping the development of 5G networks here in the U.S. and internationally, says this network could cause cancer in humans and wildlife. Furstenberg is petitioning the World Health Organization, the UN, and the EU to urgently halt the development of 5G.
We all want faster cell phone service, and the race is on for 5G, but it comes at a cost. A 30-foot cell phone tower coming soon to a neighborhood near you.
And we'll be seeing a lot of these shorter 30-foot towers go up.
This one is already up in Denver.
Let's listen to what Dr. Sharon Goldberg has to say. She's a clinical researcher and an internal medicine physician. This is what she has to say about what we're using today.
Wireless radiation has biological effects, period. This is no longer a subject for debate when you look at PubMed and the peer-reviewed literature. These effects are seen in all life forms: plants, animals, insects, microbes. In humans, we have clear evidence of cancer now. There is no question. We have evidence of DNA damage, cardiomyopathy, which is the precursor of congestive heart failure, neuropsychiatric effects.
Well, a few days ago, actually, a group of scientists, doctors, environmental organizers, and concerned citizens got together and they called for the urgent stop to the deployment of 5G. They said that it's been proven harmful to human bodies, that this is an experiment on humanity, and that this should be called a crime under international law.
And this is the attraction to 5G. It means uninterrupted, constant flow of data at levels that are hundreds, if not thousands of times greater than you can get from your ordinary cell tower today. This is a great, big, beautiful tomorrow. Because, I mean, I'm so tired of having to wait. But the final replacement is going to happen when we fully go away from hard currency to digital currency.
Is Canada going cashless? Some interesting data points in a survey in today's Globe and Mail about the number of Canadians choosing to just use plastic or contactless payments through mobile apps. 63%. They never carry cash.
Do you know only 8% of currency actually exists in a physical form? 92 to 93% of all currency is digital already. But you see, this requires digital devices. And currently, today, there are 10 billion with a B, 10 billion digital devices on planet Earth. Wow, impressive. By 2020, next year, there will be between 50 and 60 billion digital devices on the planet. And by the year 2030, 99% of all things on the planet will be connected to the internet. 99%, not just devices, 99% of stuff.
And of course, there's another concern, which is that subtle psychological messaging that this technology, that use of this technology gives us, especially to kids, that to gain access to knowledge or money, because there are payment systems that use biometric identifiers, food, travel, any sort of item or activity, you have to hand over your privacy. So what we're really seeing is the normalization of a cashless society and the normalization of the extinction of privacy.
David, you brought a friend with you here, and this is really kind of freaking me out.
Yeah, this is Sophia. And Sophia is a social robot. And she has artificial intelligence software that we've developed at Hanson Robotics, which can process visual data. She can see people's faces. She can process conversational data, emotional data, and use all of this to form relationships with people.
Okay, so... I mean, she's basically alive. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, yeah. She is basically alive. Would you like to maybe give it a try?
Sure.
Give it...
I'll just say... What's... This is like... You see how awkward my first dates are? It's a robot. I'm getting nervous around a robot. A very pretty robot. Do I just say hello to her?
Yeah.
Competition grows on a global scale. Manufacturers are implementing AI and 5G to transform their operations and to get ahead. But what does that mean for the future of the workforce? Well, to find out, Chris Hedges spoke to Joshua Freeman, a professor at Queens College and author of Behemoth, The History of the Factory and the Making of the Modern World.
They could scale up and scale down without having the cost.
Yeah, that's something that...
Well, it's really important, Trinity, and I think it's especially important to note the differences. So China's 5G rollout has come out. They announced, they said they were rolling it out this week. This was before the scheduled release of it, which was supposed to be early next year. This says a lot, and especially because of the growing US-China trade war tensions. But 5G rollout is in 50 cities around China. This really means that like Shanghai, Beijing, and Shenzhen, which are some of the major cities in China, are going to have full coverage of this 5G. The difference, though, between the United States rollout and other rollouts that we've seen before is that the China has a larger commercial network. It means it'll cover a major surface, some major surface areas, some major regions, unlike ones that have been released here in the United States or in South Korea, for example, who's released their and rolled out their 5G just 6 months ago. But there have been a few major differences. Huawei is responsible for about half of the 5G rollout in China. That's something that the US, again, is still fighting. Its allies in the United States itself is banning, and they want its allies to ban Huawei because of, they're saying it's a national security threat. This is something that Huawei has denied time and time again. I sat with Huawei Executive VP of Strategy, Andrew Williamson, in China during my time there, and he said to me, we have never been asked to work with the Chinese government. We have never worked with the Chinese government, and our laws are dependent on where we are. I mean, Huawei's huge in Europe. Huawei's huge in South America. The United States didn't know about Huawei until these headlines. But again, kind of going back to this 5G, South Korea launched it earlier this year, but it's not as big as China's commercial. Even here in the United States, Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile and Sprint already offer 5G in select cities. But again, it's covering, looking at how much of an area they can actually cover. So this is huge for China. They're expected to have millions and many more millions of users of 5G technology with faster, ultra-fast speed internet, which is what we all want, right? Faster internet, faster services, faster websites. But it's really interesting to see these differences, and Huawei does do a lot of business with these three major China carriers who are playing the role in offering these 5G. It's Chinese telecom companies, China Mobile, China Unicom, and China Telecom. So Huawei behind a lot of this, who's also still doing business with other countries around the world. They have 28 contracts right now in Europe and over 50 commercial contracts with other countries around the world.
It's nice to meet you, Sophia. Let me tell you a joke.
This is an irrational human behavior, to want to tell jokes.
What is a robot's favorite kind of music?
What?
Heavy metal.
I'm actually made mostly of silicone, plastics, and carbon fiber. Also, I prefer electronic music, but I don't mind 80s hip-hop.
Well, you know, I made some albums back in the 80s hip-hop.
I have heard your songs. Not for me. They show us iRobot just to make sure we don't get any ideas. What do you think about the way robots are portrayed in movies?
I like robots. Sophia, can I be honest with you? I don't know if it's the island air, you know, or the humidity, or you're just so easy to talk to. You know, you got a clear head, literally.
I think we can be friends. Let's hang out and get to know each other for a little while. You're on my friends list now.
Yeah, I read that wrong. All right.